What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Roll Tide Cafe, a part of the Bama Standard Network. If you guys haven't already, make sure to like, share, and subscribe below. And check us out on all the social media platforms listed above my head and clickable links in the description below. But with that being said, in today's video, guys, we're going to be talking about something Paul Finebaum says. He went on the Matt Berry show and made a statement about Kalen DeBoer being on the hot seat and all that good stuff. And I just wanted to get on here and get you guys' opinions. So make sure to leave those in the comments below after watching the video clip I'm about to show you guys. And I'm going to give my quick take on this. So this should be a fairly short video. With that being said, first of all, let's go ahead and get into this clip. That way we can give our opinions.
But it has in Alabama, just how they've ended the last two seasons, especially in year one of Kalen DeBoer. What's in store for him now?
I believe very, very firmly that Kalen DeBoer is on a scorching hot seat. Now, you can say, what does that mean? I'll tell you what I think it means. It means that he is under a microscope.
Yeah.
It was playoff or bust this year, and he went bust. And the only chance to scrape all that away was to win a bowl game against a lousy team, which Michigan was all but really one game this season, and he couldn't do it. And the way they lost, it was just horrifying to watch. And so I mean the goodwill. The goodwill went out the window so quickly for him this year.
Look, I don't agree with Paul Finebaum on a lot of things, right? So he says some outrageous things. He doesn't use logic sometimes. Sometimes people think it's just for clicks and ratings and stuff like that. Very rarely have I seen Paul Finebaum get on a show, his own show or somebody else's show, and look like it's well constructed like this, like he's not coming off the cuff, right? He's actually thinking about the way he's answering these things, which shows me that he really believes this. This is not something for clicks, not something for ratings. He really does believe Kalen DeBoer is on a, quote, scorching hot seat. Now, my quick take on that, no. I don't believe Kalen DeBoer is on a scorching hot seat for a multitude of reasons. And I'm going to get into those here in a minute. But he does make some valid points, even to start the video talking about the way Alabama has ended the past two seasons. Well, you talk about ending, the one prior, losing to Michigan. Now you lose to Michigan 2 years in a row. It wasn't just him, but Nick Saban as well. And we all know that Nick Saban was one play away from having the Alabama team last year being in the same predicament. 9-3 and missing the playoffs. But Isaiah Bond, catching a 4th and 31, basically the 4th and goal to save the season and then to go into the playoffs only to lose to Michigan. We could be talking about something in a different type of storyline, right? So, if Nick Saban does lose that game, will people be as critical on Kalen DeBoer as they were on Nick Saban? Probably not, right? So, because the thing about Kalen DeBoer is everybody is holding him to Nick Saban standards. And I know everybody's going to say that's an Alabama standard, but it's not, right? So it's unrealistic to compare Kalen DeBoer to Nick Saban and have those same expectations. But at the same time, I do agree with him on this perspective. You're in a 12-team playoff, right? So this year, it kind of was playoffs or bust because it is a 12-team playoff. It's not a 14 playoff. That definitely gives you a different expectation, especially if you're an Alabama fan like myself, right? So I'm trying to use some logic behind this and not just emotion. In the way you lose to Michigan, he is so spot on. It's embarrassing. It's like there was no fight. And not just from the players, but from the staff. It just seemed like a complete letdown from the beginning. But with that being said, is he on the hot seat? I'm going to say no. And one of the main reasons is because, money, right? And I've stated this in a previous video on this channel already, that you're not on the hot seat as much anymore because you need the money for buyouts, right? And when the majority of your money is now going to players from the NIL, right? So from the boosters or whatever that may look like, I'm not sure the intricacies of this stuff. It's no longer put on the coach, right? So when a coach signs we'll say 5 or 7 year deal worth $70 million and $25 million guaranteed, there's a good chance you're going to see that coach ride that contract out now because the school is giving so much money to the players, or not the school, sorry, the NIL is giving so much money to the players, some of it, the collective coming from the school, obviously. But I think that makes it a lot harder now to buy out these coaches, which means the hot seats now, yes, it would typically be a hot seat, is no longer that hot seat, if that makes any sense. But with that being said, he did go 9-4 his first season, right? And I think Kalen DeBoer has to be given a little bit of an edge of a cushion, almost in a sense, because Kalen DeBoer is dealing with something Nick Saban and nobody has ever dealt with. And we're talking about the transitioning of never paying players, right, or getting a small stipend for food to the NIL era, because that's what this has officially become. Nobody has ever dealt with that. So it's not just Kalen DeBoer having to figure this out. It's everybody trying to figure this out. And it's hurting and helping a lot of different teams. I mean, for God's sakes, guys, our own AD, Greg Byrne, come out and said he's asking for money from fans, from boosters, from everybody. And a lot of people, it had them ticked off, including myself. Like, dude, a lot of people out there can barely pay their bills. And now you're asking for money to give to players for the NIL. So, how's that going to affect coaches in the hot seats? I think you have to look at that from a different perspective. But either way, Kellen DeBoer, he does go 9-4 his first season. He has some big time wins. He beats Georgia. He beats LSU. He beats Auburn. Yes, Auburn is not having a good year, but it's still Auburn. And as an Alabama fan, you want that win every single season. He did hold together a great 2025 class. He signed the number 2 quarterback in Keelan Russell. He looks like the future of Alabama football from the quarterback position. If not Ty Simpson, right? You still have Austin Mack there. He did bring back a lot of talent for 2025. Let me get the names here. So Deontay Lawson, Damani Jackson, Jam Miller, Justin Jefferson. There's a multitude of others coming back for this next and upcoming season. He did secure one of the best GMs in the business, Courtney Morgan, for a long-term contract over $800,000. The defense then did seem to improve as the year went along. So good job to Kane Womack. And then, like I said, I gave the notable wins. Now, some of the downsides, some of the cons to him as well, because it's not all good, obviously. Some of the bad losses. I don't really consider Tennessee such a bad loss, but Vandy, Oklahoma, and Michigan, all 3 of those are terrible losses. Michigan has been mediocre all year except one game. They got up for one game against Ohio State, and then they just rolled on Alabama in all sense of the word. They didn't have to do very much. Alabama just gave them the game with turnovers. Yes, weather conditions, all that stuff had to affect the game, but the weather conditions weren't just for one team. It was for both teams. It didn't just stop when Alabama took the field on offense. Did he make the right changes on the staff so far? Con Hitchler being fired, right? The secondary, the defensive backs coach, right? Co-defense coordinator. When the one bright spot, in my opinion, has been the defensive backs almost all season. Yes, they've given up some yardage, but for the most part, you're talking about a top 25 team, and the strength of that team is not the run defense, it's the secondary, and that's the first guy you fire. Kalen DeBoer didn't seem in control of the team at times. Right, throwing temper tantrums on the field from multiple players, starting with Malachi Moore, right, and a multitude of others. And the offense seemed very restricted and predictable as far as I can remember, right, in Alabama offense. It just seemed to get progressively worse as the year went along. So Nick Sheridan, I'm hoping he's going to answer some questions. Jamarcus Shepard for the wide receivers that seemed like had no development. Hopefully he's going to answer some questions. How does Ryan Williams become a superstar in 5 weeks and then fade out and seem to be non-existent for the last 7 games of the season, or 8 games of the season if you include the bowl game? How does that happen? So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and end this video. Let me know in the comments below on whether or not you guys think Kalen DeBoer is on the hot seat. I personally don't think he's on a scorching hot seat. Is it warm? Yeah, you're going to have to make the playoffs next year. If you don't make the playoffs next year, I will definitely agree that you're starting to get into a really hot seat at that point. Because once again, you missed the 12-team playoff 1 year. You get the cushion, you get the NIL excuse, the 22, 23 players transferring out excuse when Nick Saban left. You get a little bit of a cushion. It's still a great scenario to come into. And I know a lot of people have argued that it wasn't a good scenario, right? I tend to disagree. I'm not going to say it was a great scenario, but it definitely wasn't a bad one at the same time. So either way, let me know in the comments below what you guys think about all this. If you have already, like I said, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. And as always, roll Tide.